Dara, Syria, 2011, summertime, a city known for its peace and quiet. But that day something different was about to happen. 14-year-old Muawiyah was having fun with his friends. There were smiles on their faces and hope in their hearts. Little did they know that their fun would be the first step towards a big storm. School was out, hearts were full of excitement, and hands held paint. This paint wasn't just on the walls, but also in their dreams. Each color told a new story, awakened a new hope. They wrote on a wall, "The doctor's turn is next, Dr. Bashar al-Assad." This wasn't just a line, it was the voice of their hearts, the words of their minds. It was a small line, but its impact was going to be huge. People stopped, looked at the wall, thought and understood. Muawiyah wouldn't have imagined that his action would start a fire. Lines of worry appeared on his face, but now nothing could be done. It would shake the foundation of Syria. A country that once preached peace and tranquility had now become a battlefield. Muawiyah and his friends were caught. They didn't understand what they had done wrong. Their dreams, their fun, everything was snatched away in an instant. They were thrown in jail. The light of their lives was lost in the darkness of the prison. There was sadness on their faces and pain in their hearts. They were tortured. They were beaten, and an attempt was made to silence their voices. But their voice spread like wildfire. This news spread like wildfire. People in every street and every neighborhood were angry about this. A fire was ignited in their hearts. There was anger and hatred in people's hearts. They raised their hands and their voices. Their anger, their hatred, everything erupted at once. They were tired of Bashar al-Assad's government. They felt that their voices were being suppressed, their rights were being taken away. Muawiyah's action became an excuse for their anger. A small line, a small act, became the first step of a big revolution. This is not just Muawiyah's story. It's the story of every person who fights for their rights. Syria, a country where different cultures have met for centuries. This country was famous for its ancient civilization and culture. The people here had always experienced peace and happiness in their lives, but now everything had changed. But this country was now under the control of a dictator. There was an army presence everywhere, and fear was clearly visible on people's faces. The effect of government tyranny was visible in every street and every neighborhood. Bashar al-Assad became the president of Syria in 2000, after the death of his father. He decided to follow in his father's footsteps and took control of the country. The first year of his rule brought new hope for the people. Initially, people hoped that Bashar al-Assad would bring change to Syria. They thought that the arrival of a new leader would improve their lives, but that didn't happen. Slowly, people's hopes began to shatter. Bashar al-Assad's rule turned out to be even stricter than his father's. He used all sorts of tricks to suppress his opponents. There was fear of the army and police everywhere. People were arrested without reason and thrown into jail. Those who raised their voices were crushed. Those who spoke against the government were either killed or silenced forever. There was an atmosphere of fear everywhere. The media was strictly controlled. No news could be circulated without the government's permission. Every news channel and newspaper was under government control. People were shown only what the government wanted them to see. People did not have the freedom to speak. Everyone was confined to their homes and afraid to speak their minds. There was a strange sadness on people's faces. They felt that their lives would never improve. The atrocities committed against Muawiyah and his friends further fueled people's anger. When Muawiyah and his friends were arrested without any reason, people's anger erupted. The fire of protest spread everywhere. Ordinary people took to the streets. Everywhere people started shouting slogans against the government. They had decided that they would no longer remain silent. They had resolved to fight for their rights, stones in their hands and the passion for freedom in their hearts. People picked up stones in their hands and started fighting against the government. They had only one feeling in their hearts: freedom. A new revolution had begun everywhere. Bashar al-Assad resorted to the army to crush the protests. In 2011, when the wave of the Arab Spring reached Syria, people raised their voices for their rights. But the Assad government sent the army to suppress these voices. Shots were fired at peaceful protesters. People died. Even those who peacefully expressed their views were tortured. Chaos broke out everywhere. Civil war broke out in Syria. Cities were destroyed, buildings were demolished, and people were displaced from their homes. In no time, this war became even more terrifying. The sound of gunfire and explosions could be heard everywhere. Different groups were fighting for different purposes. Some were fighting for freedom, while others were fighting for their own selfish interests. Some were with Bashar al-Assad, while others were against him. The country was divided into two parts. Foreign countries also jumped into this war. Every country became a part of this war for its own selfish interests. America, Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia all started supporting different groups for their own benefit. Every country was helping some group or the other according to its own strategy. Syria became a battlefield. There were scenes of destruction and devastation everywhere. People were displaced from their homes, and only desolation remained in the cities. This war, which started as a protest, had now turned into a terrible war. The world just watched, and Syria continued to be destroyed. The Syrian civil war caused the most damage to ordinary people. Millions of people had to leave their homes and flee. They had no food to eat, no water to drink. Children, who wanted to go to school, who wanted to play, were now only hearing the sounds of bombs and bullets. Their dreams, their innocence, everything was taken away. Hospitals, schools, everything was destroyed. Doctors were left without medicine, teachers without books. Section 5. Women's stories written in tears. This war did not spare even the women. Their homes were destroyed, their husbands were killed. They had to take shelter in different camps with their children. Hunger, thirst, disease, and fear became a part of their lives. They were looted, their honor was violated. This war in Syria was no longer just Syria's war. It became a battlefield where the world's biggest countries were making their moves. America wanted Bashar al-Assad's government gone. Russia and Iran were supporting Bashar al-Assad. Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries were supporting the Sunni rebels. Everyone was giving weapons and money for their own benefit, but no one cared about the ordinary people of Syria. Years have passed, but the war in Syria has not ended. Millions of people have died, millions have become homeless. Syria's economy has been destroyed. Many efforts have been made for peace talks, but no permanent solution has been found. Bashar al-Assad is still in power, the rebels are still fighting, and ordinary people are still dying. This story of Syria is a story that shames humanity. This tragedy of Syria reminds us that war is never the solution. War only brings destruction, brings pain. We must also remember that we are all connected to each other. An event in one country affects other countries as well. This war in Syria is a warning for all of us. Although the situation in Syria is terrible, we must not lose hope. Even today, there are many people in Syria who are fighting for peace. Many NGOs and international organizations are helping the people of Syria. We must also do our part. We must raise our voices for the people of Syria. We must get help to them. We must hope that one day peace will return to Syria.